All right, let's talk about the Beatitudes. From the Sermon on the Mount. Most of us, when we hear them, we think of a checklist, a list of spiritual goals, right? Be merciful, be a peacemaker, be pure in heart. Seems pretty straightforward. But what if that whole checklist idea is actually missing the entire point?
This quote from Dr. Bill Mounce really gets to the heart of it. Can you just wake up one day and say, you know what? Today I'm going to be merciful. He says, no, you can't. It just doesn't work that way. So if the Beatitudes aren't a spiritual to-do list, then what on earth are they?
Well, Dr. Mounce presents this incredible new way of seeing them. He calls it the golden chain. And the idea is that the Beatitudes aren't a random collection of virtues at all. They're actually a causal sequence, a chain reaction where each one is forged by the one that came right before it.
And that's the core concept right there. You can't just jump into the middle of the chain and try to be a peacemaker. It's impossible. You have to start at the very beginning, because each link is created in the fire of the one before it. So, where does this whole chain start?
It all kicks off with "Blessed are the poor in spirit." That's link number 1. It's this gut-level, honest recognition that on your own, you are spiritually bankrupt. You've got nothing. And Dr. Mounce argues that when you truly, genuinely see that, the only possible response is to mourn.
But let's be clear, because mourning here isn't just about feeling a little sad. It's a really specific 3-step process of confession that gets deeper and more real with every step.
So, first, you have to agree with God about a specific thing you did wrong. But then it has to go deeper. You move from talking about an act to talking about your character, confessing, "I am a sinner." And then comes the final, most profound step, the realization that any sin, no matter who it hurt, is ultimately an offense against God himself.
You can hear this so clearly in King David's words here. I mean, think about it. He'd had an affair, he'd murdered a man to cover it up, he had sinned against a lot of people. But in his moment of true repentance, he understood that the ultimate betrayal, the ultimate offense, was against God. That is the heart of real biblical mourning.
Okay, so what happens in your soul after you've seen your own spiritual poverty and truly mourned it? Well, the chain leads you to the very next link, meekness. This isn't something you just decide to be. It's the natural result of finally understanding who you are in light of who God is.
Now, let's be honest. Our culture gets meekness completely wrong. We hear meek and we think weak. We think it means being a doormat, a wallflower, someone who's timid. But biblically, it is the exact opposite. It's about willingly submitting to God and having a gentle response to people, all from a place of incredible, controlled strength.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's not about having no strength. It's about putting all the strength you do have under new management, under God's control.
Here's a great way to picture it. Imagine a powerful, wild stallion. All that muscle, all that energy, it's dangerous. But now, imagine that same stallion, trained and broken. It hasn't lost an ounce of its power, but now all that strength is perfectly responsive to the slightest touch of the reins. That is a picture of meekness.
And you see how this all connects, right? The reason a person becomes meek is because they've been through those first 2 links. They know they are spiritually poor, and they've mourned it. So how could they possibly be arrogant? How could they lash out in retaliation when they know the depth of their own need for grace?
The great preacher Martin Lloyd-Jones put it like this, and man, this is challenging. When someone criticizes us, our first instinct is to get defensive. But the truly meek person, their internal response is something like, you know what, you're probably right, and if you knew the whole story, you'd say something even worse. That's the kind of profound humility that true meekness creates.
So what's the next link that gets forged from this new character of meekness? Where does the chain lead now? Well, it leads to this deep driving motivation. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness.
It's just simple logic, really. Because of the first 3 links in the chain, you now know you're spiritually bankrupt, you've mourned that fact, and you've submitted all your strength to God. So, since you know you don't have any righteousness of your own, you start to desperately, deeply crave it from the only one who does.
And we are not talking about a casual interest here. Dr. Mounce calls it the difference between nibbling and sipping and a true life-or-death hunger and thirst. This becomes the all-consuming passion of your life, to be right with God and to see His righteousness, His justice, fill the world. And it's that deep hunger that then naturally produces the rest of the chain, the mercy, the purity of heart, the peacemaking. You see, you can't get to those without this foundational, desperate desire.
So let's zoom out.
What does this golden chain idea really mean for us day to day? Well, it completely shifts our perspective from trying to achieve a static state to embracing a lifelong process.
At the end of the day, what this means is that the Beatitudes aren't some test that you're constantly passing or failing. They're a description of a journey of transformation. They describe who you are the moment you begin this walk, who God is patiently shaping you to become, and who you will one day finally be.
And that right there is the key takeaway. It's not about arriving at a destination called meekness or purity. It's about the journey itself. It's about the process of becoming, the continuous forging of that golden chain, link by link, for your whole life.
So I want to leave you with this to think about. If all of this is a journey with a patient God and not a pass-fail exam, how does that totally change the way you see your own struggles, your own failures, and your own spiritual growth? It's a game changer, isn't it?